So I'm going to keep this as brief as I can because I have other things I should be doing, but I feel as if this needs to be addressed. I just watched a video of Sam Omatseye. I believe it was on TVC's YouTube channel. And in this video, I believe it was a TVC program from yesterday morning. He was making reference to me, and he said something to the effect of these young journalists need to learn to stick to the facts, right? And of everything else, of everything that he said on that program, I felt as if that was either the most hilarious or the most offensive thing he said, being it that this was something coming from him, of all people, which is why I thought that this needs to be addressed. Lest we all forget, this entire issue, and I'm speaking directly to Sam Omatseye here because, unlike him, unlike you, I'm not somebody who sort of throws a punch and then goes to hide behind my finger and lock my comments on Twitter or go on TV and say, I'm not going to consult my lawyer because I'm a Christian or anything like that. I'm not going to do that, right? I'm right here, right? So this entire issue began because someone who happens to be the opinion editor of the Nation newspaper, which is owned by a certain Bola Ahmed Tinubu, made the editorial decision to go write an opinion column which essentially drew a completely false and non-existent link between candidate Peter Obi and the indigenous people of Biafra movement. That someone then titled that column Obi-Chwari, reading as obituary, right? And this person knew what he was doing, and he knew the response that was going to get. In fact, when he tweeted the link to the article, he locked his Twitter comments. So he knew what was coming, and he knew why he was doing it. He was trolling, right? He was trying to be an edgelord, right? He was trying to be provocative, trying to be edgy, right? And he got the response he was looking for, perhaps a bit too much of it, and then it stopped being fun. And then he started trying to play himself off as the victim. And that's why we're here having this sort of back and forth today now. And somehow this has managed to become about me as against you, right? Because you made the editorial decision to write that article and to run it. You made that decision. You are responsible for that decision. I'm not, right? Neither is anyone else who responded to your article. You are 100% responsible for what you did. You knew what you were doing. You're not a child. You're a 61-year-old grandfather. You knew exactly what you were doing, and you chose to do it anyway. So the first thing I want to say is, I feel as if your behavior is very typical of the Nigerian elder, right? Or even the African elder, some would say. You seem to think that you are supposed to have a complete free hand to do absolutely whatever you want, and anyone asking for any kind of accountability from you is somehow oppressing you or persecuting you or bullying you, or there's something wrong with that because somehow you are above it, right? You can do whatever you want to do and no one should ask you any questions about it. Because I watched the show, nobody made any mention about the fact that you wrote an incredibly incendiary article, which in addition to being incendiary, was completely false. It was completely untrue. You offered zero empirical evidence or backing fact or documentation to back the claim that somehow the candidacy of Peter Obi is linked to IPOB. You offered no convincing argument for that. You offered no documentation, no evidence, no proof, nothing. You just literally shut it out of your pen and published it. And then you then come on TVC and tell me that I should stick to the facts. What would you know about facts, Mr. Omatseye? What have you ever known about facts? Since we're going to have a conversation about facts, right? I believe it's fair to say that I know a thing or two about facts because my entire brand of journalism is built on presenting documented visual facts for everyone to see. So I'm putting the question to you, what would you know about facts? Because I've looked through your profile, I've looked through your work, I've gone into the archives, I've seen all you've done throughout your career from 1988 to present. what would you know about facts? Because to my understanding, all you have ever been is a political reporter. That's it. At best, you're a political reporter. You were never an investigative journalist to begin with. You were a reporter. That's all you were. You're always behind the news cycle, chasing the news. An investigative journalist is ahead of the news, creates the news. You never did that. You never had that skill set, and you still don't. So I found it hilarious when you were somehow, you somehow got the idea into your head that you are going to lecture me, or anyone else for that matter, about investigative journalism. What would you know about investigative journalism? Would you know what it was if it hit you on the head? Because I've looked through your career. You are in no position. If anyone on earth should be talking about facts, sticking to the facts, and how investigative journalism should or should not be done, it shouldn't be you, because you wouldn't know anything about it. You have, at best, you're a political reporter, and then you made the switch into being an opinion columnist. And for the majority of your career, that's what you've been. You've been a columnist. You've been someone who writes opinions, right? Opinions, not facts, just opinions. And I'm going to read out just one example. This is an example from, this was 2011, right? This was something you wrote in 2011 about Hundeyin, the wife of the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. And I'm just going to read out this little portion. And perhaps you or anyone else listening can explain to me which part of this exactly strikes you as something written by someone who has any kind of respect for the concept of truth or facts or journalistic integrity, ethics, or anything like that. I'm just going to read it out. So the headline it chose was Owl Family Without an Owl, and this was written in June 2011 on the Nation newspaper, which your boss Bola Ahmed Tinubu owns. I'm just going to read an excerpt here. It says, even HID, that's Hundeyin Awolowo, hobnobbed with Alao Akala, who brought illiteracy to governance, with Oyinola, who turned the grace of office into a hellhole of despots, and with Daniel, who could not arrest his quick fall into megalomania. I wrote once that this woman, whom Awo once described as the jewel of inestimable value, has lost value to his cause. If he came back to life, he would have committed the extraordinary act of divorce after death. Even his newspaper, The Tribune, has so stumbled and fallen that it swims in Awo's vomit. Ideologically, when we talk of Awo's family, the chief inheritor is Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as the leader of all the others. He was the one who stuck his neck out. He could have lost his life or ended his career in politics. The so-called real Awolowos who bear his surname cannot come up for mention. They are Awolowos but not Awoists. They stabbed their father in the back. They have committed ideological patricide. That's what you wrote in June 2011. Can you imagine somebody who wrote that if Obafemi Awolowo came back to life, he would divorce his wife in death? Can you imagine somebody who wrote such an incredibly offensive thing, right? Coming back 11 years later to write something that was arguably just as offensive about someone else altogether, about Peter Obi this time, and then coming on the TV to play the victim. And somehow this is about these young journalists or these young people or David Hundeyin coming after you and being mean to you and being nasty to you. But, you are such a good person, Sam Omatseye. You are such a lovely Christian that you're not going to do anything about it this time. But next time I should please, give it a rest. Nobody's buying this thing you are selling, right? Nobody's buying it. Nobody is buying it. Stop playing the victim. Own it. You did something stupid. Not for the first time, not for the second time. You have a history of doing stupid things like this. You made that decision. Nobody else did. That was on you. You did that. Nobody owes you the reaction that you want. You don't get everything you want in life. You should know that you're about twice my age. So please stop playing the victim, right? Own what you did, right? You did that. I didn't do that. You did that. You didn't have to, but you did. That was your decision. And then I just have a little word for the media practitioners who have been sort of going around sort of trying to help this guy sell this narrative of him being some kind of victim in all of this. And that's, it's no surprise that these are people who tend to come from, similar age brackets to him. What I have to say is that the so-called young people or the young journalists or the independents like myself that you detest so much, we never asked for your permission, right? We're not going to ask for your permission. I certainly have never asked for your permission, or have I? You can come out and say so in public if I've ever come out to ask any one of you to be platformed or ask for your permission to exist or to practice as a journalist. I have no interest in your permission. I don't even care what you think about me because I see those things you write in your little WhatsApp groups. I have eyes and ears in there. I know how many hours you devote to talking about someone who is half your age because you have nothing better to do with your time, apparently. I see these things. And the truth is that I don't need, want, ask for, or value your attention, your validation, your permission, or your respect. I don't need any of those things, right? I'm independent. That's the whole point of being independent. I work on my own rules, right? I don't need any of you. None of those of us who are coming up are a completely different breed. We're not asking for your permission, right? No one is asking for you to step out of the way or anything because we don't need to do that. What you don't seem to understand is that what you are doing is demographic warfare, which is one of the stupidest things you can possibly do. Because demographic warfare always ends the same way. The younger people like myself don't actually have to do anything. All we have to do is literally just wait you out. And nature will solve this problem in its own unique way. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's either you can choose to accept that the world is changing, or you can keep on making mockeries of yourself like this. It's completely up to you. One thing we're not going to do is apologize to you when you are in the wrong, as you so often are. Nobody's going to do that to you for you this time around. We're not going to shrink ourselves to make ourselves smaller for you, right? And we're certainly not going to sit down and take the insults, the backhanded insults and disrespect and dishonesty that you regularly put out there. So if people like Sam Omatseye, feel like his need to earn a living, which obviously is sponsored by, the person who owns him, is more important than the need that young Nigerians have for a better life, right? For a better future that he's not going to experience, obviously, because, he's already old. He has no stake in that future. It's not his problem, but it's our problem. It's my problem. So if he feels like his individual stomach, his individual bank balance and wallet is more important than our future, then we have every right to respond in any way whatsoever that we see fit, because this is about our lives. You are not more important than us. Your lives are not more important than ours. It's really important that you get that into your heads, because we're not going away. We're not going to stop, right? No one is asking for your permission here. Nobody's begging you for anything, right? Because even if we did, you wouldn't give it to us, because that's what you do. That's what African elders do, right? Other people plant seeds for their young to grow, for their young to someday eat the fruits of the trees that will grow out of the seeds. You people eat the seeds. That's what you do. All that we have now, we have it because we have scrapped. We have found our way. We have gotten no help from you, no assistance, no mentorship, nothing. So what makes you think that we are going to somehow need your permission to push forward, or that somehow the situation which is clearly changing is going to stop changing because you want it to? What gives you that idea? So I really want you people to sort of figure out what's going on inside your heads and figure out that time is passing by, you're getting older, you need to start making smarter decisions, and it's not a smart decision to pick a fight with the younger generation because you can't win it. It's biologically impossible for you to win it. It's possibly the stupidest thing that members of a human civilization can do. So I really hope all of you really get the point that I'm trying to pass across. No one is asking for your permission here. No one.